Hello, this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another Friday fun video. You can't see that this is not a paper craft video today because I'm using shrink plastic. I will link to my source below. It is from Amazon. It is fairly cheap. Comparably, you get quite a few sheets for your money, and I think it's so much fun. I have got a video on this channel already. When I first started off last year, I made some earrings with shrink plastic, and I wanted to do the same again today. This is partially inspired by Lavinia stamps. Emma Jo made some Toadstool earrings quite a while ago, obviously with a Lavinia stamps Toadstool stamp. I've only got this one from Visible Image, and I used that a few weeks ago on my autumn card, and I'm still in the autumn mood today after some horrible rain we had recently. We've got glorious sunshine, so I'm in the mood for this. And I have already gone ahead and stamped my Toadstool with StazOn ink. You can stamp it with normal ink, but I wasn't quite sure at that point what pens I would use to colour this in. So I thought if I use StazOn, I'm on the safe side. And I have stamped it 3 times basically because the first one was a bit more faded, and because I want to turn this into earrings, I wanted 2 similar ones. So these are a bit darker, and I think they will be fine as a pair. One little tip to start with: when you stamp, make sure you stamp into the same direction. So I would not stamp this here and then the other one facing that way, because shrink plastic shrinks not proportionally. I did a trial run when I first started off, and I cut pieces like this, and they were the same size, 2 centimeters by 5 centimeters, and they shrunk differently, so I measured them afterwards. So if you want to pair, and if you want them to be the same size, make sure you stamp them in the right direction. You have got the option, depending on what pens to use, whether you work on the shiny side, which I've got on the back here, or the rough side. Because I decided to use some crayons today, I decided to go on the rough side. But if you use alcohol markers, you can use the shiny side, and with the StazOn, both sides are fine. The other thing though you need to know, if you use like Sharpies or alcohol markers to colour them in, they can change their colour when they get heated up. I used here, these are my alcohol markers, and whilst the red stays quite bright, the yellow faded almost into nothing. Pink didn't turn out nice at all. So keep that in mind if you want to do this. I haven't worked with these crayons before, but I hope that they will keep their colour a little bit better. These crayons are a mix from 2 boxes. These are the Black Widow ones. I've got the Scorpion box and the Spider box. Any crayons are fine. I just treated myself to them this year, but you don't need to have posh crayons. Anything works fine. And as I said, you can use alcohol markers. I haven't tried it with ink pads, obviously the ones that are water reactive. I do know you can use Posca pens. They work quite well, but I thought for the details I wanted to use these. And I have just a selection of 2 reds because I want to do a little bit of shading, although the stamp does a lot for me there. I've got the blood red and the ladybug, and then I've got 3 shades of, well, like a beige and a brown. This is a tanned, stink bug, and foxy brown. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just show you one example of how I'm colouring in, and I think I will speed it up. Basically, I want the top to be red, and then the bottom a bit of shading in the beige and the brown. I think the thing underneath I just leave as it is, or maybe give it a bit of a tan thing, and that's all I want to do. I have also marked a little spot at the top where I want to put a hole, so I don't forget that before I shrink the plastic. I will just do that with my hole punch after I've cut the shape out. And I will just cut it like with my normal scissors, not with my paper crafting scissors, just with my normal scissors, because it is fairly thin. It's not too difficult to cut, so that's quite easy to do. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you. I'll move my camera over, and as I said, I will just speed this up now for the video. So I think that is enough. That was quite quick. So I just used the lighter colour here in the middle, and then the middle one here and the darker one here. You don't have to be too precise, because this will shrink quite a bit, so you won't really see if you missed a few bits. So I just left it at that. The two reds I found were actually quite close. The second one, which I think was a ladybug, is a bit more like a cherry red, but I think they both are fine. So off camera now, I will colour this one in same way, and I will then cut the toadstool out, I think as close as I can get to the rim. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe I have a trial run on this one here and see how close I can get, or whether it's actually easier to give it a bit of an edge, a rim there around it, so a frame. And then, as I said, I will just cut this with a hole punch, and then I will show you how to shrink the thing. I have fussy cut my toadstools, and I did use my scissors after all, because these are the best ones for fussy cutting, so I hope they don't get blunt from doing that. I just wanted to show you, I've shown you that before in other videos, how to actually get the hole in the right place. I've marked it here with a pen. You can hardly see this here, but I know where it is. And I'm just using my hole punch. I've taken the bottom off, and all I need to do is find that spot here, and I will actually move it a bit lower. But when the plastic shrinks, so I won't have this dot in the middle, I will have it a bit lower. But when but don't have it too low, because otherwise you've got too much plastic for the ring to go in it. So, but when the plastic shrinks, it gets thicker. So even if you're close to the edge, you're actually usually quite fine. It won't tear. So I'm doing the same here. Yep, there we go. So for the actual shrinking, there are two ways of doing that. You can put these in the oven. I used to do that a lot, and the problem is the bigger the pieces are, although these are actually quite a good size, when they're in the oven you've got no control what's happening to them. If you shrink them with your heat tool, you can manipulate these a little bit, and this is why I stopped doing it in the oven. I've also treated myself to a Sizzix shrink plastic set last year, but you don't need this. What this is, it comes with this silicone mat, so it's definitely worth working on something that is heat resistant. I used to use a tile, that works fine. I might actually pop that underneath just to protect this mat. I don't want this to get warm. And it comes with this, and I saw Emma Jo use this, and this is the reason why I got this tool, because with this you can, as I said, manipulate the shrink plastic, because it wants to curl up, and if you find it curls too much, you can interfere with this without damaging it. And also the other end, when you're finished, you can use that and pop it on the top and leave it to cool. That's quite good. And another thing that comes in the set, which I haven't used yet, is this grid here, or whatever you want to call it, this net. I believe what it does is it actually stops the thing from curling up. So if I pop this on the top, I believe that the shrink plastic shrinks but can't curl up on the edges, and I think this will help. So, but before I use this on these, I will have a trial run on this bit here, By the way, when you cut shrink plastic, always cut it a bit smaller to the size, and then it's easier to manipulate. Because I don't need this as a shape, I can just use this now. So I will just have a trial run here. As I said, I will get my tile out here. This is just I think it's one of our bathroom tiles. I just put some felty at the bottom so it sits nicely on the table, and I put some masking tape, now what you call it, duct tape on the edges. This is what I use for anything that I use with heat on this table. So it will get a bit loud when I get my heat gun out. Now normally, you know that when I use my heat tool for embossing, I always do this off camera for the noise. But with this one, you want to see how it works. So let me get my heat tool ready. I will heat it up a little bit, and then I start the camera. So apologies for the noise, you might want to turn down the volume. So my heat tool is quite hot, so I'm just aiming it at the mat now and see what happens. Oh, and it's burning a hole in it. So that's not the thing to do. Wow, I didn't expect that. I wonder why that happened, whether it was too hot. Okay, so trick is to move it about, don't put it in one place, and I might actually put it on the first setting and see what happens. So I'm courageous now, and I'm just using this one straight away. And you also saw it wanted to curl up anyway, so I either have to keep this down or I shall do it. I'll tell you what, I'll do it without the mat and show you how you normally do it. So you would use a tool that can take a bit of heat, and just put your put it through the hole there so it's not blowing away. And let me just use this lower setting here. You can see it's moving, and you need to move it about, and you see how it wants to curl up. So I need to take my tool away though, because otherwise the hole will stay big. But I still want to catch it, I still want to get to it, because it still needs heat. And don't panic when it curls up. The only problem is, and that's what I said, what happens in the oven, if it folds and one side wants to stick to the other, then you're a bit of a trouble. So I'll still apply the heat. I'll try to get the heat in the middle now so it shrinks there as well. And I'm quite surprised that this heat mat warps as well. That doesn't help. I have to stick with this now. I'm just making sure it's got heat all over, because when I want to flatten it, see that I can manipulate a little bit now. I will just use this now. I'll just wait. But I already know that one end is curled upwards, so I have to manipulate that afterwards. So can you see? So I will put this mat away. I'm not quite sure why they supply that if it doesn't work, so I'm better off working on this mat. So I will just apply a bit more heat to the bottom, and hopefully that sorts itself out. If you don't have this tool, you can put anything heavy on top, maybe another tile, a chopping board, as long as it doesn't have any indentations. So, and then you leave it to cool. It doesn't take long. And then you've got this lovely toadstool. I'm really pleased with that. So you can see it on the back. It's got a bit of an indentation. I think this is where it curled up. I'm not too bothered, because that'll be the back of the earring. But I think this is really, really cute. So you've seen the problems that you can have. I remember in my other video I showed what can go wrong. So have a play with it. Don't be afraid to use it. I will have another go at this, but I need to do that off camera. Have a play with it, how this works. Like all tools, you need some practice with them. And as I said, don't hold it in one place too long, and as you could see, the first heat setting was just enough. But yeah, I think this is really cute. So I will shrink the other one now off camera, and then I will show you how I dome these, because I don't want to leave them bare. You can do, because this stays on and the crayons shouldn't rub off, so you can keep them like this, the matte finish, but I would like to give them a shiny finish, I think. So I will use my UV resin for that. You could also use some glossy accents, I suppose, but I'd rather go for the more permanent UV resin. When you work with UV resin, please take all the necessary precautions. So I have closed my craft room door so the cat can't come in. I'm going to open the window as soon as I'm setting this with my UV light. I will switch the camera off for that, and I'm wearing gloves because this is toxic, although it says toxic free, so be aware of that. So all I'm doing with this is I'm going to apply, let me just zoom in. Oh, by the way, this here is not a fancy mat. This is sold as a silicone sponge, and I had it for ages in the bathroom, and then I looked at it the other day and I thought this would be perfect for doming. So if I've got any overspill, it will go down on the mat and it won't stick on the back. If you have a flat surface, that could happen. So I'm just putting a bit of this on. I hope the camera catches that, and I'm just using a toothpick to move it about. I tell you what, I'll need a second toothpick to hold the whole thing in place. Bear with me. So this will be so much easier if I just poke this through there, and then I can spread the UV resin around, and I want to get as close to the edge as I can. I think I did something the other day, and I used alcohol markers, and they sort of the white disappeared because the alcohol markers dissolved a little bit with the UV resin. So I'm hoping this doesn't help. It doesn't happen with the crayons. So I'm looking against the light how far I've gone. I want to go a bit around here as well, although some of that will disappear on the jump ring at the top. So take your time to do that. Don't need to rush it. Another thing, I mentioned glossy accents before. You can just use clear nail polish if you like the shiny look. It doesn't have to be UV resin at all. It's just because I recently discovered it for myself, so I thought I might just as well use it. So I'm taking this out now. If no, I've got a bit of UV resin on this one now, and it just dropped a little bit through the hole, so I want to make sure there's nothing sticking in the hole. I could always drill through it again, but if I can avoid that, I'll do that. I'm just making sure I've got no bubbles on this. I don't really want to set it with a lighter as you normally do in your projects, but I think this is fine. So I don't know if the camera catches that, or whether I can put my torch on maybe for you to show. I've got this little torch here that I sometimes use to light up, so maybe you can see now the shiny bit on it. So I will do this for the other one as well now, and then, as I said, I will heat set this. I will think I'll probably just do it for 1 minute because it's not a thick coat, and see if that will be enough, because I don't want anything to happen to the plastic. So as I said, I will do this off camera. I will open my window first, and then I will leave my window open for about 5 minutes to get rid of the fumes, and then I come back and show you how to turn these into earrings. I have cured the toadstools for 3 minutes now. They still feel a bit tacky. Sometimes I just like to leave them for another day on the windowsill, but I think they look really, really cute, cool. One of them had a bit of excess of UV resin dripping through, so I did have to poke a hole, or rather drill it a little bit with my little drill, but that was fine afterwards. It was quite easy to poke through. The way that these earring hooks are shaped, I just want to put these on like they are. If these were facing the other way, I could put an extra ring in, but I think these will be just fine. I don't want any, you know, like beads or anything there, so I'm just opening these up with my pliers just a little bit, and then I can put these in and just close them again. If you've got enough space to go in like that rather than pressing from the front, then that's fine. Just making sure they go back underneath that bead, and then you've got an earring. Quickly show you again, this is really easy. These hooks, by the way, came with my resin starter set, but you can get them very cheaply from Amazon. They're not dear at all. Oh, I need to open that a bit more. Hook it through, then grab that bit again and just fold it back. I hope the camera picks that up. There we go. And I think they're really, really cute. So yeah, I'm looking forward to wearing them. As I said, I'll leave them for another 24 hours just on the windowsill. If I have any tackiness after that, I find sometimes a little bit of oil or just like even some hand cream can get rid of that. Oh, and by the way, I've just noticed that to prove again that shrink plastic does shrink a bit differently. You can see how one is a bit wider at the bottom, but nobody will notice once you wear them. Yeah, I think this is a really lovely project, one that you could easily do with your supplies that you have from your paper crafting, except for maybe the pliers. But as I said, you can cover these with glossy accents or leave them matte, so all you needed would be the shrink plastic, the stamp, any stamp you like, and just some crayons. And as I said, they can be some cheap crayons, they don't need to be these expensive ones. If you like these earrings, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, I do something non-paper craft related every Friday. Having said that, I might miss out a few Fridays in the near future. And then I always post videos on Sundays and Wednesdays for card making or other paper craft projects. So if you'd like to see more of them, you might want to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon with another video.